The 20th century came in with a bang on January 10th, 1901. This was when the Lucas Number 1 oil rig blew drilling pipe, mud, gas, and oil 100 feet high into the sky at Spindletop near Beaumont, Texas. From that moment on, the United States of America was pulled from what was left of a rural agricultural economy and thrown right into a new era of industry. 70 years later, the country couldn't remember a time when it didn't have all the oil and gas it needed. But that all came to a sudden halt from October 1973 to March 1974, when nearly every gas station in the country often displayed signs that said, "No gas today." Had all the oil and gasoline been drilled? The gasoline shortage was a result of an oil embargo. An embargo is a ban on the trade of a certain commodity, valuable resource. The United States produced lots of petroleum products, but not enough to supply the entire country's needs. Millions of barrels of oil were being bought from nations in the Middle East, a region in Asia. These countries controlled more than half of all of the world's petroleum. Petroleum is the material found in layers of the Earth's rock that can be used to produce fuels such as oil and gasoline. The Middle Eastern nations became angry at the United States because of its support of the country of Israel. They immediately stopped all shipments of petroleum to the United States and other Western nations. Because of the low supply and high demand for petroleum products, the cost of gasoline and heating oil skyrocketed. Drivers all across the United States had to wait for hours to purchase small amounts of gasoline for their cars. Sometimes the gasoline ran out. Oil used to heat buildings was also in short supply. During the cold winter months, many schools and businesses were forced to cut hours or close altogether. Americans had to find ways to quickly adapt to this serious situation. The crisis forced Americans to rethink the ways they used fuel. People drove less and shared rides with one another. The highway speed limits were reduced to help save gasoline. At home, people burned wood and lowered their thermostats. Some people even began to try and find other energy sources. Solar energy collectors used energy from sunlight to heat homes and businesses. The U.S. government introduced a plan to help make the country less dependent upon oil from foreign countries. The plan was called Project Independence. The goal was to find ways to improve energy use in the country. The U.S. wanted to get to a point where it no longer needed to purchase oil from another nation. Americans were asked to conserve energy or to use it carefully to prevent waste or loss. The U.S. wanted to protect oil and gas from being used unwisely. The government also promised to use the nation's science, technology, and industry to find ways to save oil and gas. Congress also approved the completion of the Trans-Alaska Pipeline, which would carry oil from the Arctic region in Alaska to ice-free ports where it could be shipped to other parts of the country. The demand for oil in the world and in the U.S. is constantly changing. Companies are finding new ways to reach oil supplies too. Do some research to find out how many barrels of oil the U.S. imported last year. Write your answer on the line.